And the point that I'm making is that in everybody's life, at some point, there's a plan B. God is talking to us every step of the way. God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has...
You know why I really love Nick Hood as a minister? I watched his father do it, and he took over for the church, and he was one of us, but he really turned out to be a great minister. I know it's hard, and that's something that I know that all ministers may not be doing what they're doing because for the right reasons, but I know it's hard. I know he's a beautiful man, and we've been knowing each other for over 50 years. I believe in him. He's inspired me in so many ways to do what I'm doing and try to be the best at it. Make sure you watch Nick Hood's ministries. You'll never be the same.
Welcome to Nicholas Hood III Ministries, a ministry of hope, spiritual inspiration, personal power guided by Christian love. May the power of God's Holy Spirit fall upon you as you sit back and enjoy today's program. I introduce you now to Pastor Nicholas Hood III.
One of the beautiful stories about the resurrection of Jesus is Mary Magdalene, another Mary. Some people think it's Mary, the mother of Jesus, and it might have been. And then a third woman named Salome. And these three women go to the tomb to anoint the dead body of Jesus. Jesus was crucified on the cross. He died a real death, and his body was taken down from the cross by a man named Joseph of Arimathea. Evidently, the Bible says he was a rich man, and they let Joseph of Arimathea put the dead body of Jesus in a tomb. And this tomb is a cave. I've been to two places in Israel that they think one of those two places was where Jesus was actually buried. One is in a tomb in an area they call the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where there's actually a big church built on top of it, but it's on top of a cave. And in the cave, it has two parts. You go in the front part, and it's kind of like a little seating area, and then you can go into the second part where they think Jesus was laid. Now there's another tomb that was owned by some people from Britain, and it's in a very idyllic looking garden kind of area. But the thing that both of these tombs have is a big stone. And that's what the Bible tells us. It says that there was a big stone that covered up the tomb because the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the people that really called for Jesus to be crucified, they wanted to make sure that nobody came to steal his body. They knew he had died. They saw him die, but they wanted to make sure that nobody took the body of Jesus because they said they didn't want to perpetuate the story that he had risen from the dead. So you have Mary Magdalene. This is the woman that Jesus had healed of, multiple sins. You have another woman named Mary, and there's some debate whether or not this second woman is Mary, the mother of Jesus, or Mary of somebody else. And it's contestable. They really don't know. It very well could have been the mother of Jesus. And then the third woman is Salome. And the three women are walking. The sunrise is just about to come up, so it's still dark outside. They are walking to the tomb. And the Bible tells us that they are chattering with each other. They can't believe that Jesus was actually dead. They can't believe that he had been crucified, because you have to remember, this same Jesus is the one who raised Lazarus from the dead. It's this same Jesus who walked on water. It's this same Jesus who gave sight to the blind. It's the same Jesus who healed people who had leprosy. It's this same Jesus who fed 5,000 people with only, a couple of fish and 5 loaves of bread. They couldn't believe that it's this Jesus who, with the sound of his voice, commanded a storm to stop, the waves that were rising high on the Sea of Galilee. That it's this Jesus who could say, "Peace be still," and there was peace. They couldn't believe that this Jesus was the one who had been killed, that he actually died. And part of the reason why they couldn't believe that Jesus was actually dead was because Jesus was very human, but he was also very God. And because he's very human on the one hand and very God, Jesus had both natures. The God in Jesus would not die, could not die. The man in Jesus could very well die. The God in Jesus could not hurt. The man in Jesus could hurt. The man, the human in Jesus could bleed if he was cut. The human in Jesus could cry. When Lazarus dies and his sisters come to him and say, "Lord, have you been here? Had you been here, our brother would not have died." Jesus wept. That's what the Bible says. And so these women were mesmerized with the Messiah. They were mesmerized with the messianic nature of Jesus, the God in Jesus. And so when Jesus is on the cross, he's nailed to the hands, and Jesus says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." They heard him say that. When, you have Jesus on the cross saying to, the criminals today, the one criminal, "Today shalt thou be with me in paradise." They heard that. When Jesus looks at his mother beneath the cross and he says, "Woman, behold thy son, and son, behold thy mother." He's talking about John, the disciple. And the Bible says from that day forward, John took Mary into his home like he was her son. When Jesus says, "It is finished," these people heard that. And they all heard it. And that's why it's in the Bible. And they could not believe that one who was so divine, one who obviously had the Spirit of God within him, could actually die. And so when Jesus does die, it is a stunning event. Death is always stunning, no matter who you are. You don't have to be Jesus to be stunning if you die. If you're a human being and you die, the people who love you are going to be stung. The Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 16 says, the sting of death. He talks about the sting of death is sin, but thanks be to God who giveth us the victory in Jesus Christ. Death is swallowed up in victory. But death is hard. No matter who it is, if you love a person and they die and you realize you can't talk to them anymore, when you realize that you're not going to see them anymore, when you realize that you're not going to have any more human interaction with that person, that is a stunning event. And frankly, it doesn't matter if you're rich, if you're poor, white or black, male or female. If you are a human being, at some point, you will be stung by death. And so the death of Jesus is stunning, and it's stinging to Mary and Salome. But these women, in spite of the sting of death, they are walking to the grave. And as they are walking to the grave and talking about Jesus, reminiscing about Jesus, thinking about Jesus and all that Jesus had accomplished in 3 short years. The thought then pops up in their minds, oh yeah, we saw them put his body in the tomb, and there's a stone in front of that tomb. And my friends, the stones that are in front of the tombs where they think Jesus, one of these 2 tombs where they think he is laid, they're massive. They're like this, big rocks, and they were rolled in front of the tomb. And so the women are asking themselves a simple question: who will roll away the stone? Who will roll away the stone? Now, they don't stop walking. They are walking, they are chattering with each other, and then it's almost as an afterthought. One of them says, you know, there's a stone that they put in front of the grave of Jesus. How are we going to get behind that stone? How can we anoint the body of Jesus if there's a stone in front of Jesus? How are we going to do this? And I laugh when I think about that, because I said, you know, it's interesting that the first ones to the tomb, in some of the Bible versions, it's Mary Magdalene by herself. You've got, this one I just shared with you from Mark chapter 16. In Mark 16, it's the 3 women, Mary, Magdalene, Mary, maybe the mother of Jesus or another Mary, and then a woman named Salome. Those 3 women don't stop walking because of the rock. They are, they've got their little step on. And I laughed to myself. I said, it is so interesting that the first ones to get to the tomb in this version are women. And not that women can't be the first ones to go to the tomb, but it's fascinating to me that they get to the tomb, and en route to the tomb, they realize that there's a rock that's going to prevent them from getting into the tomb. And their question simply among each other is simply, who is going to roll away the stone? Who is going to roll away the stone? And my question is this: could you imagine if it wasn't Mary, and Salome, but maybe Peter, James, and John? Imagine if it was 3 male disciples walking to the temple. Their discussion probably wouldn't be who will roll away the stone. Their discussion might be, who's the man? And who among us is going to roll away the stone? Or the 3 of us, if the 3 of us are rolling together, maybe the 3 of us can roll away the stone. And I laugh every time I think about this text from Mark chapter 16, because I say, had it been 3 men, they probably would have died of a heart attack. And that's one of the big differences between men and women, that, women will figure another way out. They will, it did not faze Mary Magdalene, the other Mary, and Salome. It didn't faze them that there's a rock bigger than what they could move. Their question is, somebody's going to move the rock, but it's not going to be us. And as it turned out, it's God who moved the rock. It's an angel of the Lord who is there. Now, I'm going to come back in a minute, and I want you to think about all the stones in life. Just like that big rock was in front of the grave, keeping those women, or at least they were fearful that it was going to keep them from seeing Jesus. Just as there was that rock keeping those women from Jesus, there's a rock in your life. And I want you to think for a moment. We're going to take a little station break, but when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of these stones that are in our lives and how we can't see Jesus because of the stone that's in front of us. Start thinking about it, and I'm going to be right back.
America used to be considered a godly country. It doesn't seem to be that way to me now. And I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything, but it's so many things they're okaying for the wrong reasons. There's not godly reason. People need to really open up the Bible, the Bible, and look in it and really get it into their heart. And this, the way the Reverend Hood is doing this, This is a comfortable way. It's not forcing anything on people. It's a comfortable way and a loving way for it to continue to move in that direction.
The way Reverend Hood presents it, you can understand it, and it makes you want to delve into the Bible even more so that you can see more, because it seems like the program goes off too fast. We need the bread of life.
We really do.
These days we need it more than ever, and Reverend Hood's ministry on TV is giving us our bread.
And the point that I'm making is that in everybody's life, at some point, there's a plan B. God is talking to us every step of the way. God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has been directing me every step of my life.
On the Word Network.
Today, I'm talking about who will roll away the stone that keeps you from seeing Jesus. And I think about that first Easter Sunday, how Mary Magdalene, the other Mary, and a woman named Salome, the three of them are just chattering, walking together to the tomb of Jesus. They're going to see Jesus. They want to anoint the dead body of Jesus. And that was their way of really dealing with his death. His death was stunning to begin with. They couldn't believe that Jesus could be killed because they'd seen him perform so many miracles. And so the three women are walking, they're talking, and invariably they begin to ask themselves a simple question. There's a stone that was put in place. We saw the stone, a big stone, put in the opening of this cave where Jesus was buried. Who is going to roll away the stone? Because we know it's not going to be one of us. But even though they know the stone is big, these ladies keep walking, they keep talking, because they're on a mission, and their mission is to see Jesus. And the question I want to raise to you is there a stone in your life that's preventing you from seeing Jesus? And a figurative stone, not necessarily a literal stone, but a figurative stone. There's some people who can't see Jesus because they're out of work. Some other people can't see Jesus because they're sick. And in their sickness, they hurt. And in their sickness, they have hospital bills. In their sickness, they can't walk. They can't talk the way they'd like to. In their sickness, they can't go to church. And so the sickness becomes a stone. The sickness is not the issue. The issue is, how do we see Jesus? But the real question is, what is the stone that's between you and the Lord? For some other people, the stone is a bad marriage. You can't see Jesus because every time you go home, you're fighting. Or you can't see Jesus because even before you get home, you're thinking about how messed up your home life is. You're thinking about, how you really don't like talking with your husband. You really don't like talking with your wife. Maybe you really don't want to be around your children. Or vice versa. Maybe there's some child looking at this who could say, Reverend, I don't like being around my dad. Or I don't like being around my mom. And, seeing Jesus is almost an impossibility because they're so focused on, this rock that's in front of them. And the rock is not the real problem, and the rock is not the goal. The goal is seeing Jesus, making Jesus a real part of your life so that you can benefit from the direction of Jesus, so you can benefit from the inspiration of Jesus, so you can benefit from the blessing of Jesus. But many of us cannot benefit from the blessing that the Lord has given us, that the Lord has put before us, because we're so focused on the log in our eye. We're so focused on the hand that's crippled. We're so focused on the bank account that doesn't have any money in it. We're so focused on the human problems that we have that it makes it difficult for us to see the Lord. And I am convinced that many of us would lead invariably much more enjoyable lives if we could get past the stone that's in front of you. But the real question is if the stone is bigger than you. This is a figurative stone. If this stone is bigger than you, then the question comes back to who will roll away the stone? Who is going to roll away the stone if you can't roll it away by yourself? And so I want you to think about that and ask yourself, how can I draw upon the power of God to help me with the stones in my life? Through my prayer life, what can I say? What spiritual attitude can I embark upon in my life so that I can see Jesus more closely, so I can know the Lord more intently, so I can benefit from the Lord in my life? But I can't benefit from the Lord if I'm so focused on all this other mess that's in front of me. And that's really the challenge, to get beyond the mess, get beyond that rock that's in front of you. And I think that for all of us, no matter who you are, no matter how much money you have or don't have, no matter how healthy you think you are or you're not, no matter how educated you are or not educated, at some point there will be a rock, keeping you from seeing Jesus. And you just got to figure out a way to get beyond that rock. And in my life, personally, I am always asking myself, what can I do better to get closer to the Lord? What can I do better? And so, I've been thinking about it with this broadcast. I really like this broadcast. I love it. It's given me great meaning, spiritual meaning and depth. It's given me another reason to read the Bible intently and to always ask myself, what is another Bible story I can tell on this program that will be relevant to somebody who's looking at it? And people are looking at it every week. Somebody's calling me. I had a number of people call me just from last Saturday, and it's so invigorating for me to, I read the transcripts of the phone calls, and as much as possible, I try to call people back. And so I know that people are looking at the program, and some people who are looking at it actually send in a contribution. And I really like that because it's very gratifying to me. But, one of the stones that is there in front of this ministry is that I just need more financial support. And I'm bringing it to you today. And the stone is, I really need more individuals like you, people who are looking at this program, who are getting something out of it. I need your support. I would like your support. And so I want you to, I've been thinking about this, and you tell me if you think it's too much. But what I want you to pray on is to ask yourself, if I don't belong to a church, and I know, the statistics say 60 to 70% of Americans don't even go to church. If you don't belong to a church, I want you to think about this ministry as a church. And I want you to ask yourself, if there's a stone which is, inhibiting the growth of this ministry, the Nick Hood ministry, I want you to ask yourself, what could I do on a regular basis to support this ministry, to help this ministry get beyond the stone of just, how do we stay on the air? And so what I want you to pray on is this. Ask yourself, could I actually make a contribution? Something as low as maybe even $10 a week. If you gave $10 a week, that would turn into $40 a month. And what is $10 a week? It's like 2 quarter pounders with cheese, I think. I mean, I don't eat McDonald's like I used to, but it's not that much money. And you think about how much money we blow all the time on trivial things. And so I want you to ask yourself in prayer, and I want you to pray on it, and ask yourself, can I support this ministry financially? And if you can, I want you to write a check to Nick Hood Ministries or Nicholas Hood III Ministries. Send it to the address that's on the screen, 4535 Chrysler Drive, Detroit, Michigan, and help me roll away this stone. I believe it's possible. There's a song that they used to sing, Lord, don't move this mountain, just give me the strength to climb it. And so I'm bringing the stone to you, and I'm asking for your help to help me get beyond that stone, so that I can expand this. I think I'm on the right track. The Lord is talking to me all the time about this. And I love the letters that I'm getting. I love the phone calls that I'm getting from all over the country, from New York all the way to California, from Alabama all the way to Michigan and Wisconsin. People are contacting me, but I need your help. So I want you to pray on that and ask yourself, could I make a regular contribution? And like what I say at my church, you just give at your own level. At church, what I tell people is, if you can't give much, just give what you can. And that's what I'm saying here. I want you to think about making a donation to this ministry and help me to roll away that stone. I'm praying for you. Thanks so much for watching today, and I look forward to seeing you next week. God bless.
You know why I really love Nick Hood as a minister? I watched his father do it, and he took over for the church, and he was one of us, but he really turned out to be a great minister. I know it's hard, and that's something that I know that all ministers may not be doing what they're doing because for the right reasons, but I know it's hard. I know he's a beautiful man, and we've been knowing each other for over 50 years. I believe in him. He's inspired me in so many ways to do what I'm doing and try to be the best at it. Make sure you watch Nick Hood's Ministries. You'll never be the same.
And the point that I'm making is that in everybody's life, at some point, there's a plan B. God is talking to us every step of the way. God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has been directing me every step